Dying isn't dramatic. Coming back is harder. People expect relief, a second chance, a miracle. But for many who return from a near death experience, the hardest part isn't what they saw on the other side. It's living again. Their senses don't match their surroundings. Their emotions don't fit inside their bodies. Their energy feels too high or too heavy. Lights flicker when they walk by. Electronics glitch, relationships crumble, old beliefs crack open. Because the truth is this: when the soul expands, the body struggles to contain it. Tonight, we explore the aftermath, the part nobody talks about. I'm Candy, and this is Half Haunted Chronicles. When someone returns from clinical death, a nurse usually checks vitals, pulse, breathing, blood pressure, but there's no test for the sudden flood of intuition, the electric buzzing under the skin, the new sensitivity to light, sound, and emotion, the feeling that the world looks flatter than the one they just left, the sense that their old life no longer fits them. Researchers like P.M.H. Atwater and Barbara Whitfield have documented these symptoms for decades. They call them the after effects, and they are more often disruptive than the near-death experience itself. Here are some stories about what happens after you return. Electrical sensitivity, the lights that pop. One of the most common after effects is electrical disruption. A man who had a transcendent near-death experience said that whenever he walked underneath streetlights, they flicked off like someone was flipping a switch. At first, he thought it was coincidence, but then it happened again and again. Car alarms went off as he passed. Watches stopped every single one he tried to wear. Computers froze. Radios hissed. Researchers called this heightened electromagnetic sensitivity. Experiencers call it being overcharged. One woman put it plainly: my body came back with too much voltage, the body that feels too small. A man who had a transcendent near-death experience said that returning to his body felt like being shoved in a box 2 sizes too small. For weeks afterwards, he felt physically constrained, like his chest was too tight and his senses were too sharp. Food tasted overwhelming. Colors looked too bright. He couldn't tolerate loud noises. He wasn't sick. He was adjusting to being human again. After effects like this appear in hundreds of cases. Oversensitivity to light, sensitivity to touch, chills without cause, energy rushes up the spine, a buzzing sensation in the hands or forehead. Researchers compare it to a spiritual version of decompression sickness. Too much expansion compressed too quickly. The personality flip. One of the most common after effects is a complete shift in personality. People become less materialistic, more compassionate, more emotional, more intuitive, less patient with dishonesty, less tolerant of shallow conversation. But there's a cost. They often say, I don't recognize my old self. My family doesn't understand me. I can't go back to who I was. Relationships crack under the weight of the change. Divorce rates among experiencers are significantly higher than the average. One woman told Whitefield, my husband didn't lose me when I died. He lost me when I came back. The sudden gifts and strange skills. A man who barely passed algebra in school woke from his near-death experience with advanced mathematical insight. A woman who never played music returned with the ability to compose songs. Another gained a deep understanding of physics despite having no education in the subject. Children come back with heightened empathy, psychic-like sensitivity, unusual maturity, a sudden awareness of death or emotion. Researchers call these acquired abilities or near-death experience gift phenomena. Experiencers simply say, I came back different. The emotional flood. Returning to life means returning to emotion, but magnified. People cry more, feel more, love more, grieve more intensely, but they also struggle with anxiety, depression, a homesickness for the place they visited, an ache for the light, a sense that life is too dense or too slow. One man said, I spent weeks grieving the beauty I left behind. I didn't want to die again, but I missed it. The spiritual emergency. Some experiencers don't adjust easily. They describe feeling too open, too aware, too connected, unable to shut out other people's emotions, unable to ground themselves. Traditional therapy often fails fails because the experience is so far outside the normal psychological models. Whitfield calls this a spiritual emergency, a crisis of identity triggered by a profound spiritual event. But with support, people eventually stabilize, and nearly all of them say, "The world feels more alive now. I understand love differently. I am less afraid of everything." Here are three creepy facts to haunt your day. Different cultures describe nearly identical otherworldly landscapes despite no contact or shared folklore. Some people encounter living buildings or structures that respond to thoughts. People report seeing plants, animals, and beings not found anywhere on Earth. This episode is one of the most powerful to me because it reminds us that death isn't the only transformation. Survival changes people too. In a world obsessed with proof, with evidence, with physical signs, the after effects are impossible to ignore. They're not dreams, they're not hallucinations. They last for years, sometimes decades, and no pill or therapy can make someone suddenly turn off streetlights, develop mathematical genius, or feel other people's emotions with surgical precisions. And something happens when the soul touches whatever lies beyond. Something real, something that follows them back. And maybe the body isn't meant to hold that much awareness, but people try anyway. And in that struggle is something profoundly human, the attempt to live after dying. Tonight we explored the weight of returning to life, the body that can't adjust, the heart that cracks open, the mind overwhelmed with new awareness. But next time, we step into the scientific debate itself, vertical perception, the moments where people see, hear, or know things that should have been impossible while their bodies were clinically dead. Until next time, stay curious and always, always stay haunted.